I was a student at the Belgrade University in the mid-90s when living under Milosevic and in a country that was under UN sanctions in the middle of a war, and on top of all these things, there was an electoral fraud at the elections in 1996, and we kind of, as students, spontaneously reacted to electoral fraud and went into the streets and demonstrated against the fraud. And we asked for the government to actually respect our vote. After 4 months of protesting, we actually managed to succeed in our demands, and the government accepted the defeat. However, these were only local elections. So what happened following that was a crackdown on all the pro-democratic forces. So they actually gave us like a little victory, but then after that there was a crushing defeat. So there was a total disappointment, total chaos, total fear among the young population in Serbia in early '97. And me and my friends, we realized that protest is not going to be enough. So I was sitting with friends, and we were figuring out what to do and how to, respond to this crackdown. So we decided to kind of go one step further and to go from a protest to a movement. It's like longer lasting pressure, or pressure applied over a longer period of time on the government. And so I somehow became an activist, although without knowing that I will be one, because I was dragged into that protest almost spontaneously, but later became one of the founders of Otpor, the resistance movement, in the years to come. Individually, each one of us who were founders of Otpor and who dedicated years of our lives to activism and fighting for freedom in repressive circumstances, first thing that was very important was that we were young, and that we didn't have families, we didn't have children, we didn't have careers, so it was impossible to blackmail us. It was impossible to apply direct pressure on us through our family, through our children, or through threatening that our career is going to be stopped. We actually had little to lose. On the other hand, unlike some other young people who wanted to kind of have a quick like career starter, or they wanted to advance in politics or in academia or whatever, we kind of wanted to do something that is going to change the country. And so we had this passion, all of us, and we were willing to commit ourselves to fighting this struggle over a longer period of time. And it took us several years before we managed to succeed. So this kind of combination of youth, lack of, how shall I say, they didn't have anything that they could threaten us with or blackmail us with, and we also had this internal motivation to continue. One of the things that we actually discovered earlier is that many people, when you bring many people together, you have different ideas, different visions, different personal interests and all that stuff. So we deliberately decided to put all these aside, and we knew that bringing down Milosevic and securing free and fair elections was something that we all could agree on, and we decided to leave all these other differences aside for the time after Milosevic is gone. And that's why we managed to kind of maintain very high level of cohesion and unity inside the movement. But after Milosevic was gone, the movement fell apart because all these differences came up, which is not a problem, because we are so many. These were different people. I mean, you had people who were among the founders of the resistance movement, you had people who were monarchists, you had people who were communists, you had people who were of different ideological backgrounds, people of different ethnic origin and religious affiliations. And so anything that could divide us, we decided to leave for later. And everybody who, looked at Atpor in the first, let's say, several months, when we were still a small organization, we couldn't call ourselves a movement, they actually didn't expect that we could last long because of this diversity. But this diversity actually paid off in the end, and we managed to create a mass movement, getting all kinds of people, all kinds of different levels of society on our side, because we had this diversity inside the movement from the very beginning. The first thing that we realized is that, we knew that we, in order to change the system and to make it more fair and to make it more democratic, we need to remove a barrier, and that was the regime, and that was keeping the system in place. And so we knew that no reforms were possible unless we actually changed the regime. So we decided that one of our first and most important goals was the change of the regime first, and then reform of the system later. So one thing that we realized is that we were too weak and we were too small and powerless in the beginning compared to the regime. So we decided that we need to challenge the regime at the elections. But we knew at the same time that the regime is going to do its best to prevent our candidate from winning the elections in the campaign, and if that proves unsuccessful, and if our candidate wins the elections, they're going to steal the elections like they did before. So we pretty much knew what was the game and what were the rules of the game. And so we decided to use those rules in our own advantage. So from starting 2 years before the elections were scheduled, we decided to make a mechanism that is going to create a reaction to the electoral fraud. So we realized that the only way we can prevent the electoral fraud is if we organize a general strike and if we put the country to a standstill. So that was the first step. The second, or actually that was the first component. The second component was that we needed to win the elections, or actually our candidate needed to win the elections. And in our case, we had a fragmented opposition scene. We had people who were close to the regime and then they defected. We had people who were outsiders but very relevant. So we needed to bring all these people together to back one candidate. And when that candidate wins, we needed to have all these people defend that victory. So from very early in the process, we established communication with different organizations and groups in the country, and trying to prepare them to do what needs to be done when the general strike is called for. So we established communication with trade unions, with different organizations on a local level, with the municipalities of different cities and towns in the countryside. So by the time the elections came, and when Milosevic stole the elections, within 10 days, the general strike spread and totally crippled the whole country. Nothing was working. The roads were blocked. Every railroad was blocked. All the big companies stopped working, and the regime couldn't do anything to stop it. And let's say the most important thing was that we prepared early in advance that this general strike wasn't something that would incorporate 5, 10, 15% or 20% of the society, but something where actually the majority of the population participated in, and that is what made it so effective.